This session is about defining coaching. Definition is really important because it helps people to know that they are talking about the same thing. Definition creates common ground, but there are problems. Coaching is a highly social process, so it becomes subject to many variations in practice. These variations, I argue, through this session, are controlled by the context and the purpose for which coaching is used. So if we look at this definition from Clutterbuck and Megginson, we see that this particular definition seems to be about performance and goals. It also seems to be about pausing for reflection, to refocus, to rethink. It involves challenge as well. If we look at this definition from Rogers, this is looking at accelerating learning. It's looking at the word of effectiveness, but it's also introducing the idea of not just careers, but people's lives. And it also is very clear about the function of the coach. It's about the development of potential in the client. Whitmore in 1997 had a very simple definition. He referred to coaching as the process of empowering people. And we see here an older one from Megginson and Boydell from 1978. And this gives a different kind of emphasis on what coaching is about. It is first of all suggesting that the coach is a manager, and they refer to guided activity, and they refer to problem solving, and they refer to being able to improve on a task. So therefore there is a performance orientation of this definition as well. And here are some other definitions that you might like to consider and think about in the way that I've tried to present just now, kind of critically and looking at the meanings behind the words. There are some core themes in these definitions. One is that there is a sense of collaboration, a sense of equality or egalitarianism rather than authoritarianism. There is something very strongly in all these definitions about goal attainment, not about the analysis of problems, but the resolution of them. Goal setting is collaborative. It's also important to understand that coaches in some of these definitions do not need to have domain-specific knowledge. They don't necessarily need to know the coachee's world. Coaches need expertise in facilitating learning through the coaching process. We understand also that one of the themes is that it's a systematic process. It's a continuous self-directed learning for the coachee. And it's about respect and encouraging reflection. Defining mentoring. The challenges of defining mentoring are very similar to the challenges of defining coaching. And this is because mentoring is essentially a social process. It's subject to many different variations in practice. And these variations are influenced or controlled by the situation in which it happens, or the context, and the purpose for which the mentoring is being done. So let's start by thinking about some definitions in a particular context. This definition on your screen now, which I'll give you a few moments to have a look at, This is one which is produced by the Active Community Unit, part of the Home Office of the UK government. It relates to a mentoring scheme designed to support young people, particularly into employment and particularly into making changes in their lives. It's associated with trying to get young people away from crime and into something more productive and something more useful. The next one comes from a charity. And the language of this definition is quite different. It's about supporting, speaking up for, like advocacy, guidance given by one person or another. And what is emphasized here is about the achievement of objectives, or perhaps several objectives over a longer period of time. The next one on the screen is one which relates much more to the context of work. And it's very much focused on career development or career sponsorship. And it mentions things like teaching and counselling as a support process, but it's also about the psychological support given to people. It's about offering protection and sometimes promoting and sponsoring people. This next definition is an interesting one because it's offering something which is far more general about mentoring. It says offline, and in this case it doesn't mean to do with being online in terms of computers, it means in relation to management. So it's located within an organisational context. But if we were to drop the word offline on here, we could simply say mentoring is help by one person to another in making significant transitions in knowledge, work, or thinking. So if we think about some of the core themes that we might find in mentoring definitions, we know that, like coaching, the context is important. We know, unlike coaching, that mentoring is very often voluntary. It is not a paid activity. Coaching tends to be a paid activity. Mentoring is about offering support and encouragement. There is, in some contexts, a sense of objectives, of direction, of goals, rather like coaching. And it seems as though there are two basic models of mentoring. One, as we saw with the definition earlier, is about career development and career sponsorship, and the other one is about learning and development, developmental support. Generally, the model of mentoring is more experience to less experience, although not all of the time. It's not linked to a management relationship, hence the word offline. It's usually best conducted outside of a line manager relationship. So a mentor would not necessarily be the manager. It creates too many problems. Whereas in coaching, the manager might be coaching as well as being the manager. Mentoring tends to deal with transition and change, and its focus is on learning and development.